I'm being demoted for being a recovering alcoholic. https www.reddit.com/r/legaladvice/comments/krpd70/cambang demoted for being a recovering / I think I was just demoted for being a recovering alcoholic. This is what happened. In my job, we often take the clients to lunch, dinner to finalize deals. My colleague and I were having dinner with a client and he saw I was not drinking wine. So he asked why and if I'm a recovering alcoholic. I said that I am. Suppose I could just have lied, but I don't like to lie. What happened next is he called my boss and said he wants someone else to be in charge of his account. Boss asked why and he says doesn't want an addict to be in charge of his account. My boss told me this, so I believe it. On a side note, I'm 22 years sober, and my past addiction is not interfering with my work at all. The client was quite happy with me until he knew about this. At first my boss refused his request, but the client escalated it to one of the partners and I was told I'm not to handle any of this client's business with our firm. He's one of our big clients, so it's clearly a problem for me. I would be losing money over this. And it's a career setback. I was not happy with this, so I protested, but they said that as I can't seem to work with the client, I'm being demoted to my former position, which means a monetary loss of at least $20,000 per year, not counting bonuses and other perks. So I was wondering if I have a case here. Is there a chance this could be discrimination for reasons linked to a health issue? Update. https www.reddit.com/r legal advice comments wxifko update. I'm being demoted for being or covering. Hi people of r legal advice. I thought I would give a short update on my situation and thank you for your help. Long story short, early last year I got a demotion at work essentially for being a recovering alcoholic. Sober for 24 years now. One of my main clients no longer wanted to work with me after finding out that I was a recovering alcoholic, which I could stomach. Clients come and go, but my bosses used the excuse to demote me. I wasn't sure I wanted to fight it, but still went to a consult with a lawyer just in case. They said in their opinion I had a case if I wanted to pursue it. Maybe not a very strong one, but it was worth trying. In the meantime, I remained in the demoted position for 2 months while looking for a new job. Then quit. Things happened during those 2 months that convinced me that I needed to fight my employer for discriminating against me. I sued them and after some back and forth they settled. Much more easily than I had expected. I had been expecting a hard fight and it wasn't. Credit to my lawyer who did a great job. Turns out it's illegal to discriminate even when you say a client made you do it. And it's dumb to put it in writing. It isn't a life-changing settlement, but it's more than I would have made staying on the job a few more years had this whole thing never happened. So it was quite worth it overall. I am not or an alcoholic. So, client immediately noticed Oop wasn't drinking and felt the need to ask why and thinks Oop being a sober addict is the problem? The client is in awe. Stupid. And probably has an issue or two related to alcohol because people with healthy relationships with alcohol do not care if lunchtime drinking is not occurring. Wow. If I heard the person managing my account was 22 years sober, I'd be so happy. Addicts getting clean is surely admirable. I'd love to know why the client jumped straight to recovering alcoholic when asking a question. That was none of his business to begin with. There are so many reasons someone might not be drinking. Medical conditions. Religious restrictions. Maybe they just don't like drinking. Or they do but aren't in the mood. Whatever. Maybe we just respect people's choices and leave it at that. I have 20 years myself. I tell people I don't drink because of medical issues. Which is true. I am allergic to alcohol. I break out in handcuffs. XD. Alcoholism is recognized as a disability under the ADA. This was a dumb move by the company. Even if OP had just become sober, that's still no reason for the discrimination. The fact that it was over 20 years ago since they became sober and they act like this is baffling. Glad they got the settlement. Here's to their successful future endeavors. Being a recovering alcoholic is definitely covered by the ADA, and this was definitely discrimination based on a disability. Lawsuits are always tricky, but I'd say OOP had a pretty strong case. It's more complicated with people actively struggling with alcoholism. Funny story about not drinking with colleagues. I was working with a big dog researcher who was sort of the crown prince of the company. We were at a big conference. Maybe 20 of us. We're out to dinner. And this guy keeps asking me about my not drinking. I'm in recovery. Have been forever. And it doesn't even faze me to have alcohol around me. I blew him off a few times. Even used the "I'm allergic" excuse. He persisted. This guy was world-renowned in his field. Pretty okay most of the time. But could be fairly entitled at times. He asked me again as dinner was winding down in front of everyone. And at this point, I was tired of it. I replied in a loud enough voice for everyone to hear me, probably including nearby tables, "I don't drink because I turn into an asshole." You could have heard a pin drop. He shut up after that. What an oddly specific question from that client. Regardless, I know OOP said that they don't like lying. They could have responded to the question by going around it. Q. Why aren't you drinking? You an alcoholic? Quote. A. I gotta drive home. And I like having all my wits with me when I'm driving. It's a safe explanation even if you're not directly answering the question that was posed. Asking someone in a business context. Or a social one too, I suppose. Whether they're a recovering alcoholic is exceptionally rude. I'd be shocked if a colleague or client asked someone that at a dinner. Maybe US culture is different. But I think the only response I'd expect in a professional context to someone not drinking here in the UK would be asking if they drink at all or if it's just tonight. Oddly enough, my impression is that US business drinking is far more prudish than here in the UK. I've gone out for dinner with American clients who've acted like they're being naughty to split a bottle of wine between four, while many British clients, obviously not all, will happily have a bottle of wine each and then hit a bar afterwards. Given that, it seems all the more weird to question someone not drinking. Clearly the client was a huge alkie and was projecting. First the snide jab about not having wine at dinner, then when he was told, "Yeah, I have to abstain," suddenly his account representative isn't good enough because he's not a drinker. Fucking mental. I am 33 years sober and I'm very open about it. Although it honestly never really comes up much. My old company knew in HR and my boss used to ask me advice regarding recovery at times. I am not sure if my new company does. The only people who have ever had a problem with me not drinking and being in recovery were people who seemed to have some issues themselves. It was really silly because I do not care at all what people do on their own time in any way. In the office, however, I care and will say something. Because I'm driving. This is why you don't give strangers personal information. In my experience, people who have a problem with recovering alcoholics tend to be alcoholics in denial. They're even distrustful of people who just don't drink. They can't do the math and realize it makes them uncomfortable because they need their habit to be enabled. Fuck that client. What a dickhead. As if to say, I don't want to do business with ex-alcoholics, I want current drunks. Quote, I got to say, it shows a lot of competence and self-discipline. To go on meeting after meeting, lunch after lunch, turning down drinks, shows character, something a client should want. Now, the client could have grown up with abusive drunks for parents, and have that as an excuse. I'm just saying decent and healthy people don't act like that. That client has serious problems and is projecting hard on this oop. My colleague and I were having dinner with a client and he saw I was not drinking wine. So he asked why and if I'm a recovering alcoholic. Personally, even asking somebody I don't know beyond a business relationship why they don't drink is invasive. But then to have the gall to pry further and ask if they're a recovering addict? For real? Boss asked why and he says doesn't want an addict to be in charge of his account. My boss told me this so I believe it. On a side note, I'm 22 years sober and my past addiction is not interfering with my work at all. The client was quite happy with me until he knew about this. WTF? He's not an addict if he's 22 years sober? This is all kinds of messed up. At first my boss refused his request, but the client escalated it to one of the partners and I was told I'm not to handle any of this client's business with our firm. Shame on the boss for not sticking up for their client who did nothing wrong. Jesus Christ, this client has issues and is taking it out on Oop. Oop should be proud of all the work they put into their sobriety. I'm a lawyer and a 27-year recovering alcoholic. I actually speak on this issue to lawyers and am on a bar committee that helps lawyers with substance abuse issues. If asked why I'm not drinking, I say, I had a little too much fun with it back in the day, or something similar. To other lawyers I don't have to say anything because I'm so out there with it. But to clients I just try to get the subject changed ASAP. This client is probably a totally hard drinker and wants a lawyer who will drink with him. I'll hit a decade sober next January. I've never had a problem talking to people about it. But a general rule, don't ask people why they aren't drinking. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.